Hey everyone, it's Luke again with Brain Smart Start, and I just wanted to say happy Monday. Again, we're back with Virtual Wow. I hope you guys have been enjoying this. I've seen pictures and videos of all of you guys watching it, and I miss you guys a lot, so I hope that you guys can continue to enjoy this just as much as I am. So let's get into this. Ready, guys? So, Wildcats. Yeah, we're all in this together. We are wow, you and me, united and free. We are all in this together. We are wow, you and me, united and free. We are all in this together. We are wow. Good job, guys. Glad to see you back. Or rather, you're glad to see me because I can't see you, but I wish I could. Miss you guys a lot, like I said earlier. So let's move right into stretching, okay, guys? Ready? So we are going to take, like we always do, our right arm and put it over your left arm like this. You guys already know the drill, right? I'm gonna have to come up with some new stretches, but let's do this for now. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good job, guys. Ready? And now the other one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, good job. Now we're going to do this one. Ready? And you're going to push your arm back down like this. And count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, next one. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good job. Okay. Now remember this one. You gotta pull back. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now the other one. Ready? I'm gonna pull back like this. Don't pull back too hard, remember. All right, ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, good job. Again, ready? Let's do it down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Very good. Very, very good. Okay. All right. Let's do some neck ones. Ready? So we're going to go to the left. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now the other one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, let's do the rotations. Ready? And we're going to do 10, 5 times one way and 5 times the other way. Okay, ready? So this way first. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, good job. Now the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. All right. So let's do shoulder shrugs. Okay. Ready? Remember, it doesn't matter. You're whatever. Right. So let's do this. Ready? And 1, 2. We're gonna do 15 of these. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Good job. Okay. Now we're gonna do our backs. Ready? So arch back, and you're gonna count to 10. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, good job. And I know I'm pretty close to the camera, but we're going to touch our toes, okay? So we're going to count to 10. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? Now we're going to do spreading our legs, and we're going to do our right leg and then our left leg, okay? Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, the other one. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. Very good job, guys. Shake everything out. Hope you feel a little more relaxed and flexible and a little more awake maybe, okay? All right, guys, so we are going to do our ASL class for today. I've changed up the words from last week, okay? So now we have some different words, but we're following the theme of springtime, okay? So speaking of spring, that's our first word. Ready? So this is spring in sign language. Take your hand. Ready? Spring. Spring. It's supposed to be like a flower blooming, which is funny because it's the exact same sign for flower. Even though flower is not on our list, just wanted you guys to know that. So again, spring or flower. Okay, hot. Ready? You're gonna take your hand like this, kind of like in a claw motion. You're gonna be up here, and you're gonna go hot, hot, hot. Right? So it's like you're taking something hot out of your mouth and you're throwing it away, but that also applies to the temperature around you as well. So it's hot, right? Okay, so then we have sun, right? So the sun is like this. So you're gonna go take your hand and do a little spin and boom. Okay, all the ASL experts out there are probably yelling at me because I'm doing something wrong with that, but it's around something like this, okay? Sun. Okay, swimming. This one's kind of easy. Just swimming, right? You can do a little more like motion with it, or you can just, yeah, I'm swimming. Okay. School, right? Although we are not in school right now because of the virus going on, technically we would be in school or we'd be on spring break or something like that. So this is school. It's kind of like you're clapping, but you turn your hands like in this motion, and you just keep them stiff like this, and you clap them together. School, okay? And then break, right? This is in reference to not breaking something, but like a summer break or a spring break. And so this is how you sign break. Break. Okay? Again, break. So you can do spring break. Spring break. Good job, guys. I'm sure you're doing well at home, okay? But let's move on to our star breathing for today. Okay, ready? We're gonna do regular star breathing since it's Monday. Yeah, just follow along at home. You know the drill. 2 times with sound, the third one in silence, right? Okay, so ready? Stop, smile, take a deep breath, and relax. Again, stop, smile, take a deep breath, and relax. In silence. Good job, guys. Good job. Again, I hope you feel more relaxed and at ease, right? If you were a little nervous or anxious or panicky, now you can feel maybe a little more relaxed, okay? Okay, so let's move on to our birthdays. We actually don't have any for today from you guys, but maybe you have friends and family whose birthdays are today, or people that you know. So let's sing happy birthday to them. Ready? On three. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Hey, happy birthday to you. Hey, happy birthday, dear everybody whose birthday it is today. Happy birthday to you. All right. Good job, everybody. Okay, so let's discuss our commitment for this week, right? We're on a new week. So our commitment is to help a friend, right? So in this time where you're at home, you're constantly around your fellow group home members or your family. And so let's just try to be a helping hand to any of them who need it, right? So if maybe someone needs the dishes to be done at your house, and that person who usually does it isn't able to do it for some reason, you can be able to step in and be like, hey, I can do dishes. So you do the dishes, and then everybody's happy, right? You can, maybe if someone, needs something from another room and they can't get up for some reason, you be like, hey, I'm gonna go get it, and you run and get it, and you bring it to them, and again, everyone's happy, right? Help a friend out. Be kind, be nice, and just think about that, today, okay? All right, good job, guys. Let's move on to our current events for today. So we have on Mumbai Beach in India, 96 weeks is what it took for them to clean the entire beach. But once they did, sea turtles started to lay eggs, and thousands of sea turtles were born. So because people decided to take time to clean up an entire beach, now life came out of that, right? So we can kind of think about that every day, and how when we clean up our act, new life can come out of that, and new, progressiveness can come out of that too, right, guys? So we can move forward if we take care of ourselves, we keep everything clean, right? We keep everything organized. That is better than being disorganized. And second, in other news, we have, so Ethiopia, because of the coronavirus, pardoned, which means that they forgave, right? They had forgiven 4,000 criminals in jail, and they let them go because of the fact that they were scared that they would give other people coronavirus, or maybe that they would contract it themselves, or that they would get it, so they let those people go. Okay, so those people who were once criminals are no longer criminals, and it's unsure as to what they did or anything like that, but let's hope that they're not too crazy, right? But in Ethiopia, they did that to help, so that's something to think about. And lastly, we have in the UK, 700,000 people pledged to help those who are in isolation and are unable to leave their house, right? So basically, these 700,000 people said if those people need any help whatsoever, that they would go and that they would assist them with whatever they needed. I don't know if they're gonna go in and put a bunch of masks on and a whole hazmat suit, but I know that they have pledged to help any of those people who need food but they can't leave their house due to isolation, or any supplies, not just food, but it's something, that is really, really amazing, to see people doing that, because at the end of the day, a lot of people are just going to take care of themselves, and us included, right? It's not a bad thing to take care of yourself. In fact, you should take care of yourself before others, because if you can't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of others, right? It's not a selfish thing. It's just being practical, okay? So the fact that these people are healthy and they've taken care of themselves already, and they've decided to go and help other people is amazing, right? And it's what we should do too. We should, if we have anything that we're good at, if we're skilled at any, portion of our skill set, right, we can go and help people with whatever that is, okay? So just keep that in mind, guys. Try and think about that, and yeah, just stay positive with things like that, okay, guys? All right, so now we are going to move into meditation, okay? So when I snap my fingers, the meditation will start, and you guys will listen to it for I believe it's about 13 minutes, and then we'll go back in to close off with some final statements. Okay, guys?
Hi, I'm Andrew Johnson. Take some time now to make sure that you're sitting comfortably. Put your feet on the floor. Put your hands on your lap. Take a nice gentle deep breath in and out. And just allow your eyes to close. Just allow your eyes to gently close. Take your mind on a little journey, down through your body, down through your legs, down into your feet, and become aware of the weight of your feet on the floor. And allow the muscles of your feet to relax. Now you can give them a squeeze and let go, or you can simply just imagine them softening and loosening. Whatever way you want to do it, the muscles of your feet are starting to go limp and soft and slack. Allow the feet to relax. Up now into the calves. Just doing the same thing once again. Relaxing the muscles in your calves. And up through your knees into the thighs. Letting your thigh muscles switch off. Allowing them to become limp and slack. Up now into the stomach. Releasing and relaxing your stomach muscles. Now the muscles of your chest, and all the way down your back, all the way down your sides, limp and soft and slack and relaxed. Up into your neck now, letting the muscles around and behind your neck soften and loosen, limp and slack. And down into the shoulders. Imagine your shoulders dropping, softening, limp and slack. And follow the relaxation down. Down through your arms, relaxing. Down through the elbows. Down through the wrists. Down into the hands and fingers and thumbs. Limp and soft and slack and relaxed. Now loosen your jaw. Wiggle it from side to side. Relax your mouth and your tongue. Relax the cheeks and the little muscles around your eyes. You can even relax your forehead and your scalp. So from the top of your head right down to your fingertips, right down to your feet and toes. The muscles are soft and limp and slack. As your muscles relax, very soon now they're going to start feeling a little heavier. This heavy feeling starts when muscles begin to relax. So do a quick scan down across your body now and notice which part of your body is starting to feel a little more relaxed, a little heavier. a little heavier. Notice which part is becoming a little heavier, and welcome and increase that heaviness. Imagine it increasing. And now imagine your entire body becoming heavier, as if it's wanting to sink down deeper and deeper into the chair. Just let your body go, heavier and heavier, heavier and heavier. Now become aware of your breathing, in and out, in and out. Notice the flow in and down into your lungs, and back up and out. Notice the difference in temperature between the in-breath and the out-breath. And if it feels comfortable for you, if it feels natural, take your breathing a little deeper down within you, right down into the stomach. Let your stomach rise and fall as you breathe in and out. And notice how, as you breathe out, it's as if you're relaxing a little more. As if all the muscles in your body are loosening and relaxing just a little more as you breathe out. Spend a few moments now allowing each out-breath to take you a little deeper and deeper relaxed. In a few moments, you'll hear me count down from 10 to 1. And with each descending number between 10 and 1, just allow yourself to relax a little more. Maybe even relaxing 1/10 deeper with each slow descending number. Each descending number helps you to drift a little deeper, a little heavier, a little more comfortable too. So ready. 10. 9. Deeper and deeper, relaxed. 8. 7. Drifting down. 6. Deeper and deeper. 5. 4. Doing wonderfully. 3. 2. And 1. All the way down. Deep down relaxed. Heavy. Comfortable. Relaxed. now notice how easy that has become. How easy the relaxation has been. How simple. How easy. How relaxed. Even in this short time, your breathing has got slower. And because of this short relaxation afterwards, your mind is calmer and clearer. You have greater concentration. Your nerves are stronger and steadier. And your body remains more relaxed. And you are so much more relaxed with practice. More relaxed not only in your body, but more relaxed about yourself. If your mind wanders off, just drift back to your breathing. And allow each exhalation, each out-breath to take you deeper and deeper relaxed. In a few moments, you'll hear me count slowly from 1 to 10. As I count up from 1 to 10, you're becoming more alive, more awake, more energized, more alert. At 5, wiggle your fingers and toes. At 8, gently open your eyes. And at 10, you're fully back, wide awake, rested and relaxed, bringing back a lovely sense of happiness, relaxation, feeling refreshed and recharged. So at 5, wiggle your fingers and toes. At 8, gently open your eyes. And at 10, fully back, rested, refreshed and relaxed. So ready. 1, 2, 3, coming back up. 4, 5, wiggle your fingers and toes, coming back up, that's right. 6, 7, 8, eyes gently open. Eyes gently open. 9, 10, fully back, fully awake, fully aware. And just have a big, deep breath and a nice gentle stretch. Fully awake.
Alright, so glad you guys liked that meditation. And I know it was very relaxing. His name is Andrew Johnson, if any of you want to look it up at home. He's great. He has a ton of other videos, by the way. And he's Scottish. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, let's move on to our final stretch of the day. So, guys, we have made it through a whole week of this. And I'm very happy to see how this is, progressing and how you guys, again, are enjoying it at home. But right now, let's, dance it up while I tell you guys who's coming next and who to expect for the rest of your day, okay? Ready? So, all right, everybody. So I want you guys to be dancing at home, but listen up real fast so I can tell you who's coming. All right, so ready? We have, after this, we have technology. Then you guys are going to have a little break, right? Where you can relax and, just maybe eat a snack, right? And then after that, we have CBE, right? And then after that, we have story time with CBE. Followed by lunch. You guys have a big lunch break. You can eat your food, you can dance, you can sing, whatever you want to do at home. And then after lunch, we have art. And then finally, we have our rinse and review for the schedule for tomorrow, okay, guys? So I want you guys to remember that you need to stay positive, right? Even though these times are tough, it is better to stay positive than to be sad and to not want to do anything, because that just makes things worse at the end of the day, guys, right? So let's try and maintain this, I guess, sense of happiness that may, even if it is false, it'll probably make you feel better in the long run, okay, guys? So, with that being said, I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Hello guys, this is Carlos, this is the Earth, and this, it's the Moon. Hello guys, this is Carlos and welcome back to STEM and Wow on Demand. It's amazing to be with you again. This is our third class and I hope you enjoy it as well. Well, as I said yesterday, on the second part of this class, the last 15 minutes, we're gonna keep working on money skills. So you better get ready with some paper, a pen or a pencil, and be willing to learn because we're gonna be doing some exercise. But first, on the first 15 minutes, we're gonna learn about the moon. That small little things that you see on the sky every night in different shapes. And why? Well, we're at home. And what is a better way to stay at home than at night see the moon? Moon, it's the name that is given to a natural satellite that rotates to the surround of a planet. Our planet is not the only one that has a moon actually. In fact, there is many planets with many more moons than the Earth. For example, as you can see here, Mars has 2 moons. And also Jupiter has 67. And Saturn, it's very close, it has 62. But Earth only has 1. A unique moon. The question is, why is the moon? Where is it right now? There is many theories about it. To be able to answer these and other questions, we must know the basics of our moon. Pay attention to the following video.
Over 150 moons orbit the solar system's planets, and one of those moons calls Earth home. The moon was formed about 4.5 billion years ago when, according to one theory, the Earth slammed into another early planet. Debris from this collision began to orbit Earth and accumulated, forming today's moon. The moon is the 5th largest natural satellite in the solar system, with a diameter just under the width of China. It's composed of an iron-rich core, plus a mantle and crust containing minerals made of magnesium, oxygen, and silicon. The moon's surface was once geologically active and covered in an ocean of magma. But today, apart from traces of water ice, the surface is completely covered in dust and rocky debris. Countless craters dot the moon's surface, each formed by objects such as meteoroids, comets, and asteroids crashing onto the moon. The largest crater, the South Pole Aitken Basin, spans across a quarter of the moon's surface and is nearly deep enough to fit Mount Everest inside. The moon orbits our planet at an average distance of 30 Earths. It rotates at the same rate that it revolves. So as it revolves around our planet, the same side of the moon faces the Earth at all times. From the Earth's surface, we can observe 8 distinct traditionally recognized stages of the moon's illumination. Called lunar phases, they have been observed for thousands of years and even provided the basis for the earliest calendars. For most of human history, the moon could only be studied from afar. But on July 20th, 1969, humans were able to close that distance with the American spaceflight mission Apollo 11.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
It placed humans on the moon for the very first time, bringing our understanding of Earth's only natural satellite one step closer.
Let's discuss some interesting facts about the moon. Do you know that the diameter of the moon, which is the distance between point A and point B in a circle, is of 2,159 miles? That's the equivalent to drive from Miami to New York and back. Yes, that huge is. Fact number 2. We all know that the moon is hanging out there next to us. But do you know how far next to us really is? Well, let's imagine that we can drive up there. You see, we're going to the moon in our car. Well, if you get in your car and you drive at 62 miles per hour, it will take you about 160 days. That is 5 months to get there. That is because the moon is, this is a big number, 238,900 miles away from Earth. Even the astronauts with their spaceships takes 3 days to them to reach the moon. 3 days. And talking about astronauts, do you know the name of the first man who walked on the moon? Well, let's discover together. Play the video.
Get ready for things you want to know. Have you ever been on a road trip? How about a 3-day road trip? That's about how long it takes to get to the moon. 3 American astronauts began their road trip to the moon on July 16, 1969. Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, and Edwin Buzz Aldrin
3, 2, 1.
blasted off in the Apollo 11 spacecraft from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida on a mission that would change the world forever. Back on Earth, 600 million people all over the globe watched this incredible expedition. Before touching down, the trio split up. Collins stayed on board Apollo 11's command module, the Columbia, where he would remain in orbit around the moon. Armstrong and Aldrin boarded the lunar module, the Eagle, an aircraft designed for 2 astronauts to land on the moon's surface. Wearing bulky spacesuits and backpacks of oxygen to breathe, Neil Armstrong stepped out, becoming the first person to walk on the moon. Shortly after, Buzz Aldrin joined his partner, launching themselves into the history books. Armstrong and Aldrin spent about 2 hours exploring and collecting samples of the moon to bring back to Earth. But before getting back on board, they left behind a few mementos. Their backpacks, an American flag, a small gold pin shaped like an olive branch, and a patch from the never-launched Apollo 1 mission. All was going well, until one of the astronauts accidentally knocked loose the circuit breaker that fires up the engine to get them back to the orbiting command module. Collins was their only ride home. But it was Buzz Aldrin who saved the day with a pen, pushing the breaker back in place. The spacemen re-entered the Earth's atmosphere, splashing down in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, marking the first successful human-operated spacecraft to the moon and back. Mission accomplished, and the world celebrated their safe return. Humans set foot on the moon. What planet is next?
You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
And fact number 3, the moon has several transformations. A lunar cycle, or the time that the moon takes to rotate to the round of the planet Earth, it takes around 1 month, between 30 and 31 days. That is why the old calendars were based on the moon movements and these transformations. These transformations are called moon phases. And the main 4 are, and I have it right here, the new moon, first quarter, full moon, and third quarter. You can see it right here. The one that everybody loves and that I invite you to see when you have the chance is the full moon. By the way, the next full moon is gonna be April 7th. So I invite you, if you have the time, to go outside at night, of course with supervision, and see to the moon, and you will see it as big as it is. It's a really good show. And now that we know more about the moon, I'll give you 1 minute to go get a paper, get a pen or a pencil, and get ready, because I'm gonna put some questions right here, okay? So get ready, time starts now. Okay, are you ready for the questions? I'll put the questions here on full screen so you can see them, and you will have around 5 minutes to answer. Okay? Have fun, get ready. I'll see you in 5 minutes for the second part of the class. Bye! Did you guys finish? I hope so, because it's time for the second part of the class. And we're gonna keep working on money skills. If you remember your last class, we talked about a little bit of the history of the money and about paper money, which is the one that we use right now. So today, we're gonna keep working on paper money, saying some combinations, the money that you need to pay for things, and at the end, we're gonna have time to do exercise. Are you ready? Let's go. Last class we mentioned that our money, as we know it, comes in different denominations. Bills of $1, $5, $10, $20, $50, and $100. So we can use those numbers to play around and make as much combinations as we can to pay for things or to use our money. For example, we have 5 bills of $1 are equal to 1 bill of $5. 2 bills of $5 each are equal to 1 bill of $10. 2 bills of $10 each are equal to 1 bill of $20. 2 bills of $20 plus 1 bill of $10 are equal to $50. And finally, 2 bills of $50 each are equal to 1 bill of $100. And something new that we're gonna learn today, it's about coins. Yes, we have a paper money, but we also have coins, and coins also comes in different denominations. We have 1 cent, 5 cents, 10 cents, which is also known as a dime, 25 cents, and sometimes you will be able to see a half of a dollar or 50 cents. Those are things that we have to know as well. Counting money is a skill that we also have to learn, because it's going to teach us how to use our money properly. For example, if I'm trying to buy a new phone and this phone is $50, I'm not going to give a $100 bill, because if I do that, I'm giving more money than the actual price of the phone is. For example, if I have a $50 bill and my phone is $50, I can give this and I'm covering the price of the phone. Or I can do a combination. I can give two bills of $20 plus 1 bill of $10, and this is equal to $50 as well. However, if I pay with a $100 bill and the phone is $50, I have to expect that the person, in this case maybe the cashier, he has to give me $50 in return, because this is the half of $100. If the phone is $50 and I'm paying with $100, they have to give me $50 back. That is counting money. I think the video I have for you will explain it better. Enjoy the video.
Hello, my name is Kylie and welcome to Counting Money 3, Counting Bills and Coins. In this video, you will learn how to count both coins and bills, so that you'll know if you have enough money to buy something you really want. Before watching this video, be sure you've understood the value of coins in the video titled Counting Money 1, The Value of Money, and understand how to count coins from the video titled Counting Money 2, Counting Coins. Then come back to this one. You will remember from video 2 that whenever we add, subtract, multiply, or divide money, we need to use dollar notation, or the decimal system, where dollars and cents are separated by the decimal point. Dollar amounts or whole amounts are written on the left side of the decimal point, while cents amounts or fractions of a whole dollar are written on the right side of the decimal point. Cents are counted as tenths and hundredths, just like in a place value chart. Ready to count bills and coins? Counting $1 bills is similar to counting pennies because they have a 1-to-1 value. This means you can simply count up how many $1 bills you have in all. For example, how many dollars do we have here? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have $7. Let's change this to dollar notation. Since there aren't any cents or coins to count, we can add 2 zeros after the decimal point like this. When counting $5 bills, we need to keep in mind that each bill is worth 5 $1 bills. How much money do we have here? Let's count by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. We have $30. We need to follow the same pattern when counting 10, 20, 50, or $100 bills. When counting $10 bills, we count by tens. When counting $20 bills, we count by 20. When counting $50 bills, we count by 50s. And can you guess what we count by when counting $100 bills together? Yes, we count by 100. Wow, that's a lot of money. How will we count bills when they're all mixed up? Just like with coins, the best way is to group the same bills together, like this. Then count the bills that are worth more first and work your way down. In this case, we'll count the $100 bills first. 100, 200. Then the $50 bills. 50, 100, 150. Then the $20 bills. 20, 40. Then the $10 bills. 10, 20, 30, 40. Then the $5 bills, 5, 10. Finally, the $1 bills, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's add that up now. 200 plus 150 is 350, plus 40 is 390, plus another 40 is 430, plus 10 is 440, plus 7 is a total of $447. What happens when you have dollar bills and coins mixed up in a wallet? Oh gosh! Have no fear, we can count these too. The trick is to count the bills and coins separately, then add them together. Be careful! Sometimes cents add up to dollars and need to be written as such. This is why it's important to keep your numbers aligned when writing them as decimals. You now know a lot about money. Counting and spending money is fun, but be sure to save some money too for your future. Maybe you can talk to your parents about opening up a bank account. Test your skills by counting money on our fun online games and quizzes. And remember to always be clever. Cha-ching!
Hey, hey.
Did you enjoy the video? Counting money, it's not that hard. It's actually really easy. It's just a matter of practice. And we have a lot of time to practice right now. So I'm gonna put right here some exercise for you to do. I'll give you 1 minute to go get an extra paper if you think that you need it. keep your pen or pencil with you and come back for your exercises, okay? Your time starts now. Okay guys, this is all for today. You will have the next 30 minutes to practice your exercises. I'll put right here. Don't worry, just pause the video so you can see your exercises, okay? It was awesome to be with you again. Remember, wash your hands, stay in your house, and I wish you well. See you next class. Bye!
Good morning, Well family. Suzi here. Eager to bring you a new lesson on our second week of our virtual classroom. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from everyone. We're very excited to be doing this together. So let's keep up the good work. I hope that you've been keeping up that hand washing. I hope that you've been keeping up the social distancing. I know that it's not easy to have to stay at home, but it's what we all need to do right now so that we don't spread this virus and we can all get back to business as normal as quickly as we can. So I'm glad we're all doing our part, and now on with our lesson. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about someone who is a personal hero of mine. Remember, it's Women's History Month, so this woman is someone who I find fascinating, and her name is Madame Marie Curie. If Marie Curie lived in today's time, we would remember her as Dr. Marie Curie. And the reason we would remember her that way is because she has a degree, for those of you who work on that goal, certifications goal, and her degree is called a PhD. It's also referred to as a doctorate. And at the time that Marie Curie lived, it wasn't common for there to be women who had that much of a higher education. Remember when we talked about Florence Nightingale, and they were, sort of from the same time. We talked about the fact that at that time in history, specifically for women, what was expected of women was to marry well, to raise a family, and to stay home and raise that family, to take care of their family. If you had a lot of money, you were expected to be a socialite, which is somebody who goes to all the parties, all the fancy dinners, and doesn't preoccupy their mind very much with study. But Marie Curie came from a curious family. She was born in 1867 in Warsaw, Poland, and her birth name is a very, very Polish name. So her birth name, and I'm going to look at my paper because it's hard to pronounce, her birth name was Maria Sklodowska. Very Polish name. As I said, she was born in Warsaw, Poland on November 7, 1867. She was the youngest of 5 children. She was the baby of the family. She had one sister that they were all very close, but she had one sister that she was particularly close to. You know how there are friends that we're closer to? Maybe there are family members that we're a bit closer to because we're more alike. We have the same interests as them, and that's what brings us together and binds us. Well, that's Marie and her sister's relationship. And they were born in a family of teachers. Okay, Marie's father, I'm also going to look at my paper again because that Polish name is not easy to pronounce. Marie's father, Władysław, another very Polish name. Can you imagine Władysław Sklodowska? Her father, Władysław, was a math and physics teacher, and her mother was also a teacher. Now, Marie's mother died when Marie was very young. Marie was only 10 years old when her mom passed away. But Marie took after her father. Marie was a very, very curious child, and she loved learning. She loved school. I know people usually feel strongly about school. Some people love it. Some people hate it. Marie loved school. She loved learning, and she was the top student at her high school. However, in spite of being the top student at her high school, because of the time that she lived in, she was not allowed to go to university. The university at Warsaw was for gentlemen only. Only boys could go to university. It was thought at the time that, like I said, women's place was in the home. It wasn't in the university. And women's rights hadn't yet become very much of a thing. It was starting to become a thing. The suffrage movement was starting to become something that people paid attention to, but society hadn't changed yet. So can you imagine growing up and having this powerful dream of wanting to learn more and to grow and to continue your education, and for someone to tell you that because you're a girl, you can't do that? I would find that very difficult because I love learning and I loved school. And I can only imagine that for someone as intelligent and inquisitive as Marie Curie, that would be very difficult. That word inquisitive means that we ask questions. And Marie was constantly asking questions, specifically about mathematics, about chemistry, and about physics. So because Marie couldn't go to a regular university, she started going to this thing that was called a floating university. And the floating university didn't mean that it was floating off in the ocean somewhere. Floating university meant that they never met anywhere twice. It was a secret organization. So they would meet in different places so they wouldn't get in trouble for wanting to learn. And there was no official degree from this floating university. It was just a place where people went to take classes who were naturally curious just for the sake of learning more. Marie and her sister, Bronia, another good Polish name, her sister Bronia used to attend this floating university. And they knew that in Poland they wouldn't be able to get an education, but France was a little bit more progressive. That means they were a little bit more ahead in their society, and they were allowing women into their universities. It just wasn't terribly easy to get in. And if you did get in, there was the problem of paying for your education. Education was very expensive at these universities, especially universities that Marie and Bronia were looking at going to, because they didn't just want to go anywhere. They wanted to go to the top university in France. They wanted to go to the Sorbonne. Sorbonne is a very famous place for higher education. So Marie made a deal, very clever young ladies, she made a deal with her sister Bronia. She said, I'll tell you what, I'm younger than you are, and you really want to study, and I really want to study. So I will work really hard, and I will give you my money so that you can pay for your university. And then when you graduate and you find a job, you can do the same for me. Isn't that great teamwork? Isn't that a great spirit of family, helping one another and finding a way so that you could both fulfill your goals? I thought so. So that's exactly what happened. Marie worked for 5 years as a tutor and a governess. A tutor means someone who helps people with their schoolwork. It's kind of like a teacher, but someone who comes to your home maybe and teaches you. So Marie worked for 5 long years so that her sister Branya could go to university. And when Branya graduated, she kept up her end of the bargain. And she worked so that Marie could go to university. But as I said, university at this time was very, very expensive. And even with having her sister helping her, Marie struggled financially. She didn't have the money to go to university and eat sometimes. So she chose go to university. And she would survive on a diet of bread, butter, and tea. Now that we're all quarantined and we have to watch what we're eating because the grocery stores are sometimes not having the things that we want, can you imagine living every day only eating bread and butter and only drinking tea? Well, for Marie, that was a sacrifice worth making because she enjoyed her education so much and she excelled at her education. So, Marie went to the Sorbonne in 1891. In 1893, she earned her degree, her master's degree in physics. And a year later, in 1894, she earned another master's degree, this time in mathematics. So who do you think Marie's trying to model with her education? Of course, she's modeling her father. Her father had been a physics and a math teacher. Obviously, he'd made quite an impression on young Marie. So after she graduated, Marie was introduced by a colleague, and that means someone who works with you. She was introduced by a colleague to another scientist called Pierre Curie. As I said, Pierre was also a scientist, and Marie at the time was studying the magnetic properties of steel. Now, I know that in your STEM class, you guys studied magnets, right? Magnets are bits of metal that have a pull towards one another. There's a negative and a positive, and when they come together, they stick together. And I know that some of those magnets stick pretty tough, right? Like the ones you guys studied with Carlos. But Marie needed a lab. She didn't have a lab. And Pierre said, go ahead, you can use my lab. We can work together. And they fell in love. And in 1895, Marie and Pierre got married. And they had a very passionate relationship. They were very devoted to each other. And the word devotion means that you care so much about a person that you focus on their well-being, that you're dedicated to being there for them, and that you're very close. So they were a very devoted couple, and they did a lot of work together. They had 2 daughters together, one of whom went on to also become a scientist, and another one went on to write books about her mother, biographies. So how wonderful that you have this mom in your life that's done these great things, that you want to celebrate her by writing a book about her life. Isn't that great? So as I said, Marie and Pierre were very devoted to each other, and they shared a working space. But it wasn't until Marie discovered something called radioactivity that Pierre set aside his own work and started working with Marie. And we'll talk a little bit more about radioactivity in a little while. However, in 1906, Pierre was crossing a street in Paris and wasn't paying attention to where he was going. And he was run over by a horse and carriage, and he died. And at that time was very difficult for Marie because she and Pierre had always worked together. They had a family together, and all of a sudden he was gone. However, Marie was offered his teaching post at university, and she ended up becoming the first ever female professor at the Sorbonne. So as I said, Marie discovered this thing called radioactivity. And Pierre, prior to his death, set aside his own work to work with Marie on radioactivity. They were working with something called pitchblende. And out of tons and tons and tons of pitchblende, they were able to discover 2 brand new elements for the periodic table. The periodic table is a scientific table that lists all of the elements that we know. And an element is something that makes up other things. Like in rocks, there can be elements. In soil, there are elements. But an element cannot be broken down into anything else. It's elemental. It's always true to itself. And Marie discovered radium and polonium together with her husband. For these discoveries, Marie was awarded the Nobel Prize. She was the first woman ever to be awarded the Nobel Prize, in fact. And the Nobel Prize is an award that is given for, there's the Nobel Peace Prize, and there's also the Nobel Science Prize. She won the Nobel Science Prize for discovering the element of radium. So in 1898, she discovered this new element, and she thought, what should I name this new element? And the reason she named it polonium is because she named it after her home country of Poland. So while she and her husband were doing all this research, they got that pitchblende down to polonium, but they knew that there was another element in there, and they couldn't quite draw it out of the pitchblende. It took another 4 years for them to be able to draw the radium from the pitchblende. So at the time that Marie was doing her research, there was another scientist in Germany called Röntgen, and he was working with X-rays. He discovered that there were rays that came out of certain substances, and they didn't know what the rays were. They cast off a glow, but they didn't know what the rays were. So he called them X-rays because X is the thing that scientists use when there's something that's unknown, something that they don't know. Also at the same time, there was a French physicist who had discovered that uranium, another element, casts off weaker rays than X-rays. And all of these things were put together, all of this research from these different people. And from all of that research, today we get things like radiation treatment for cancer patients. And we also get something called an X-ray machine. Now today, if you break a finger or if you break a bone in your leg, you just go to the hospital and they do an X-ray. But back at this time, prior to all this research, there was nothing you could do if you broke a finger. I mean, they could feel it and know that the bone had been broken, but they didn't know exactly where, didn't know exactly how. And so when they invented X-rays, X-ray machines, when Wilhelm Röntgen invented X-ray machines, it was a really big deal because all of a sudden doctors could treat injuries better, right? So then when World War I breaks out, Marie Curie has been doing all this research into how to perfect X-rays, how to make it accessible to everyone. And she's come up with an X-ray cart where they take portable X-rays and then they're able to help soldiers out on the battlefield who have had these injuries. And then they're also helping the doctors because now doctors can see inside the human body and know exactly what's going on. So the little portable X-ray machines that Marie Curie has come up with, they nicknamed them Little Curies. And they were very helpful in World War I. And of course, today we all know how helpful X-rays are, right? Because most of us have had to have an X-ray at one time or another. So as I said, Marie Curie received the Nobel Prize for discovering polonium. And she received the Nobel Prize also for discovering radium. So Marie became the first woman, and actually is the only woman to date, who got not only one Nobel Prize, but 2 Nobel Prizes. There's not a lot of scientists that are on that category, right? I hope that you've enjoyed learning about Marie Curie today. I certainly enjoyed learning about her. One of my favorite things about Marie Curie is the fact that she didn't give up. That when things got tough, she and her sister found a way to be able to do what they needed to do in order to get their education and make their dreams come true. So I think that's something that we should all copy, right? We should all try to find a way to be better and to continue to grow and to make our dreams come true. And that's something that Marie Curie has in common with Florence Nightingale, the other great female historical figure that we spoke about. So now I'm going to ask you a few questions to make sure that you were paying attention. What made Marie Curie famous? Yes, Marie Curie became famous for discovering 2 elements, polonium and radium. How many Nobel Prizes did Marie Curie win in her life? She won 2 Nobel Prizes in her life, correct? She won one for physics, and then she won another one for chemistry. What is one thing Marie Curie discovered? That's right, she discovered 2 elements, one of which is, again, polonium, and one is radium. And by the way, these things are still used today. We have radiotherapy because of the research that Marie Curie did. So we're still helping cancer patients with her research. Where was Madame Curie born? That's a good one because it goes back to the beginning of our lesson. That's right. Madame Curie was born in Warsaw, Poland. And what was one job Madame Curie had? Madame Curie in her life had really 3 jobs. She was a governess. A governess is someone who takes care of the day-to-day life and education of someone else's children. So she was a governess, she was a tutor, and she was a scientist. And as a scientist, she was also a university professor. What a woman. So now we're going to work on an activity. I'm going to ask that you get a piece of paper, just a piece of white paper. I'll give you a moment to do that. Okay, so now that you have your paper, your blank paper, I'm using this folder for background just so that we have something to lean on while we do our activity. Okay, so I'd like you to have either, you could put your paper on a table or you could put it on a folder of some kind. I'm going to do mine on my lap, so I'm going to have mine on my binder. Okay, so I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to grab a pen. You don't have to use a pen. You can use a pencil if you have one handy. Okay, I'm sure that you've had some pencils and paper near you because Carolina's great art lessons are keeping you very, very busy with those pens and papers or pencils and paper. Okay, so I'm going to take it, I'm going to put my hand flat on it like this. And what I'm going to do with my pen is I'm going to do an outline of my hand, and we're going to do our own x-ray. We're going to draw our finger bones on the inside of our outline of our hand. Okay, so I'm going to do that really quickly so that I can show you. And it doesn't have to be perfect, guys. Spread those fingers out so that you can get every finger individually. Okay? All right. And that's what my outline looks like. See? Okay, that wasn't too bad. So now we're going to talk about our finger bones and what they look like. I have a diagram here of the bones of the hand. Okay? So the very first x-ray that was ever taken was of a hand, believe it or not. Okay? So we're going to look at all the tiny little bones that we have. So if you see these sections on your finger, that separates all the tiny little bones. And then in between that, we can flex them, right? So we've got some cartilage in there, and there are also some tendons and ligaments that run along our hand. You can see those when you go like this, these things here, those are all tendons and ligaments that give us that motion so we can grab. So your finger bones, let's look at this one here, are called phalanges. Your fingers, the 3 little bones in your fingers are called phalanges. Then here, the inside of our hand has another long bone, okay, to about here, and those are called metacarpals. Metacarpals. And then down here, where the palm of your hand is, around that area, there's a lot of tiny little bones that are put together and they kind of look like rocks. Look, you can see here in our diagram, they look like little rocks, you see? Right there. Okay. Those are called carpals. So maybe you've heard of something called carpal tunnel. That's in this area right here. Those are called carpals. So our hands are made up of carpals, metacarpals that run this way. They're like a continuation of your finger bone, like that. And phalanges. So we're going to draw our phalanges. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide my finger, kind of how I showed you where the little lines are. I'm going to do 3 little lines like that for every finger. Okay. And then notice your thumb only has 2. And then it's got it's 2 big ones, and then there's a tiny little gap, but there's another one there where your hand kind of does that, right? Okay. So now that I've drawn those lines on my hand, I'm going to start to draw the bones. And the top bone, the first one, kind of looks like a triangle a little bit. Okay. It looks like a funny little, have you ever seen the Grand Canyon? You've seen, or like something that's called a mesa. It's these kind of mountains that have a flat top and they're just out in the middle of nowhere. That's kind of what the little top finger looks like. So I drew my little bones there. And you can do the same. And now your next bone under that kind of looks like what you imagine a dog bone looks like, right? So it kind of looks like every bone you've ever seen a dog eating. It's a little wider in the top and a little smaller in the bottom, in the middle, and then it goes wide again. Isn't it fun drawing our own x-ray? I think it is anyway. Okay, and there you go. I drew mine. See how they look like little dog bones? Okie dokie. And now the bottom one kind of looks the same, just a bit longer. Remember, you've got to make them longer and shorter. The ones at the top were shorter and the ones at the bottom were longer. Okay. There you go. And if you look at your thumb, there's a little bone there too. Okay. So now we're going to draw our metacarpals, and that's kind of going to be a little bit more challenging because our metacarpals are here, like in the palm of your hand or the center of your hand, right? Okay. Those are just going to be, they're going to follow the same line as your other bones, and they're going to end right around here, around where your thumb starts, okay? And again, they're like long bones that are shaped kind of like dog bones, okay? So let's see if we do that. They've all got to fit in there. And it's okay if it's a little wonky because our bones are a little wonky. You know, no two bones are the same in our body. Like, everything is different. It's kind of remarkable. Right, so I drew my metacarpals. Can you say metacarpal? We're going to label it afterwards when we're all done. Okay, and now we're going to do our carpals, and our carpals are down here. And because it just kind of looks like a bunch of little rocks, that's sort of what I'm going to draw. I'm going to draw like 2 rows of 3 each of little odd shaped rocks. So feel free to be creative with this. It doesn't have to, like I said, this is how we're imagining our hands to look like, right? Our hands are probably a little bit different from everybody else's. So I'm going to draw some little rocks here. Different shapes. I'm going to do 2 rows. Like that. And it's okay if you mess up a little bit. I kind of did down here. Okay. Okay. So there's all my little rocks, all my little carpals. And here I went ahead and I drew the first bones that start on your wrist, right? So here, and these are called the radius and the ulna. Okay, the radius is close to your thumb and the ulna is close to your pinky. So now I'm going to label mine. If you are, if you want to, you can go ahead and you can label yours too. Okay, so remember, your little finger bones are called what? That's right. They're called your phalanges. And phalanges are spelled kind of funny because it's spelled with a PH, which makes that F sound. You see PH together usually. It's pronounced, right? So phalanges is P H A L A N G E S. And I drew a line to the bone and I wrote the word phalanges on there. Okay. You can also draw 3 more lines pointing at the other phalanges. That way we know which ones exactly we're talking about. Next, we're going to write the word metacarpal. And we're going to write the word metacarpal next to these here because these are our metacarpals. But I think, because I don't have too much room there because of that thumb, I'm going to write metacarpal on the other side. So, and the word metacarpal is spelled M E T A. Now I'm going to do a dash, and the word carpal is spelled C A R P A L. Metacarpal. There you go. Okay. And then, of course, we have our carpals, the little rock bones that are right down here, right? Sometimes if you squish your hand, this part of the hand is really meaty, but if you squish it enough, sometimes you can feel one of those bones. Just like, the top, if you go like this, you could kind of feel those bones. All right, so the word carpals is spelled C-A-R-P-A-L-S. There's our word, carpals. All right, so now if you look at it, you have a likeness of an X-ray. Kind of what an X-ray would look like, right? Okay. So now that we've learned about Madame Curie, as they used to call her, and we have drawn our very own X-ray of our hand, I'm going to attach a video for everyone to watch. It is a short 11-minute video about radiation and Marie Curie. And I would like to say thank you for joining me on today's activity. And remember, please wash your hands, wash the bottoms, wash the tops. Remember to stay 6 feet away from people when you have to be out in a public place. Maybe you had to go with someone in your home to the grocery store or the pharmacy. Please remember, keep a safe distance, okay? And try to stay home, try to do the social distancing. And I'm so proud of those of you who've been sending me messages and videos of yourself exercising, going out there for a walk, doing the exercises with Coach Mo. We are very proud of the hard work that you're doing. And we look forward to a whole new week of lessons and learning and growing together. Bye.
The late 1800s and early 1900s saw a revolution in the very basics of what is stuff. This story features killer rays and a family of geniuses. It's the discovery of radioactivity, the birth of particle physics, and the life and enduring legacy of Marie Sklodowska-Curie. Now, Nobel Prizes, which started being given out in Marie's time, aren't everything, but she was the first woman to win one, the first person to win 2 of them, the only woman and one of only 4 people to win in 2 different fields, and she remains the only person ever to win Nobels in multiple natural sciences. Before we get to Marie, let's review physics so far. Scientists around the world had worked out the physics of Newton's universe, in which large visible stuff collides due to the invisible but law-like action of gravity, as well as the strange world of thermodynamics and electromagnetism. Heat is energy. Radio waves can carry signals around the world, all weird and about to get weirder. In 1895, German engineer Wilhelm Röntgen was experimenting with making cathode rays, or rays of electrons. His device was blacked out, but he noticed that a piece of cardboard painted with barium platinocyanide fluoresced, or glowed, when it was placed near the cathode ray tube. This made no sense. No light meant no glowing, and yet my dude's cardboard glowed, so Röntgen set up another experiment. He blacked out the machine, turned the lab's lights out, and saw that the painted board was already glowing in the dark. Faintly, sure, but glowing. The machine wasn't on. No known source of energy could have been producing that spooky light. So Röntgen threw himself into investigating what he called spooky rays, after his friend Count Fritz von Spooky. I'm kidding. He called them X-rays, after the letter mathematicians used to symbolize unknown variables. And this phenomenon got spookier when, testing the rays on different materials and arriving at lead, Röntgen saw a projection of his own skeleton. So he experimented with creating images of what he was seeing, and at this point made the now typical scientist move. He asked his wife for help, because the couple that sciences together stays together. So Anna Bertha Röntgen let her husband make an image of the bones in her hand using X-rays. And then Röntgen wrote up his experiments in a paper called, wait for it, On a New Kind of Rays. This paper earned him an honorary medical doctorate, the very first Nobel Prize in Physics in 1901, and a place in the Hall of Fame of Radiology, or using radiation to see inside the body. In fact, in his day, X-rays were sometimes called Röntgen rays. In early 1896, at the French Academy of Sciences, French physicist Antoine-Henri Becquerel heard about the discovery of X-rays. Becquerel had been experimenting on phosphorescence, or hitting materials with light to make them glow new colors. He reasoned that maybe some of the phosphorescence was related to Röntgen's X-rays, so he busted out his inherited supply of his father's uranium. Seriously, this was a thing. Thanks, Dad. Becquerel soon realized using photography that some materials naturally gave off spooky rays, like uranium left on impression in a photographic plate just by being near it. Some sort of energy was hitting the plate. This was radiation, energy that comes out of matter as it decays or breaks down into other smaller forms of matter. Curie would later name this process of decay radioactivity. Becquerel dove into research on radioactivity. He figured out that uranium emits rays that can be deflected or pushed around by electromagnetism, so they're a different form of radiation from X-rays, which are not affected by electromagnetism at all. Becquerel also researched what happens when you mix radiation and magnetic fields, showing that radiation can have an electrically negative, positive, or neutral charge, and he did important work on electrons, which we'll get to next time. Becquerel's contributions to radiation studies were wide-ranging, from basics to potential applications. When he accidentally burned himself by carrying around a piece of radium, he and other researchers concluded that radioactive substances might be able to burn bad stuff, like tumors, so they might have a medical use in fighting cancer. This continued the tradition of using radiation as a medical technique that Röntgen had started and the Curies would build on. Becquerel died in 1908, likely due to his work with radioactive substances. He was only 55. He left behind a clear research question: what happens when matter radiates spooky energy? Enter Marie Curie, born Maria Sklodowska in Warsaw, at the time part of the Russian Empire. Born to science. But the Russians outlawed lab science in schools, and the University of Warsaw didn't admit women, so she went to a secret school called the Flying University, which is totally real, and you should totally Google it. Then in 1891, she joined her older sister, Bronislava, in Paris. They made a pact to help each other finish degrees. Marie smashed this goal. Despite not being great at French and with no formal training in the sciences, she enrolled at the University of Paris, one of the best schools on Earth, and earned a degree with distinction in physics, basically a master's, in 1893 and a second in mathematics in 1894. At first, she was super broke and hungry. She tutored all night after her own classes, and she was barely keeping up. But after her first degree, she was hired to study the relationship between magnetism and steel for the Society for the Encouragement of National Industry. She needed a place to work, and in her search for a lab, she met Pierre Curie, who taught at the School of Physics and Chemistry, and they fell in love over science. Pierre proposed, but Marie was like, yeah, I'm from Poland, the place Germany and Russia have been fighting over for 1,000 years. It's really cold there. I'm moving back, and you don't want to do that, right? But plot twist, Pierre was like, anything for you, even leaving La Belle Époque Paris right as modern art is being born. Marie said, I'll think about it. On summer break, she returned to Poland and went up for a job at the prestigious Jagiellonian University of Krakow. But the Jagiellonians were clear. They would never grant a professorship to a woman, no matter how brilliant. So Marie returned to Paris and started a PhD. She also made Pierre finally finish his own PhD, and he was promoted. He admitted that Marie was, quote, his biggest discovery, which is pretty sweet. Well, in 1895, they got hitched. It was a secular affair, Marie wore the same clothes that she wore to the lab. Marie found out about Röntgen's and Becquerel's discoveries, and being trained in the study of electromagnetism, formulated an experiment. She used a sensitive electrometer, which measured electric charge and was developed by Pierre years earlier, to test how ray-producing uranium affected electromagnetic fields. She found that uranium gave off rays that made the very air conduct electricity. Her work also showed that the only thing that mattered in terms of this effect was how much uranium was present. That's it. The uranium didn't have to interact with anything in order to give off energy and change electromagnetic fields. What happened next, Thought Bubble? Marie created for the first time a theory of radioactivity. In some substances, atoms themselves must be breaking down slowly, releasing energy. This theory became foundational for modern physics. From the pre-Socratic atomists to the creator of the periodic table, Dmitri Mendeleev, a long tradition of people studying stuff had built upon an imaginary indivisible unit of matter, the atom, that a woman from Warsaw had just divided. Radioactive decay clearly violated the immutability of atoms, so atoms could be split. Intense foreshadowing. Oh, and a lot of this work happened between her marriage in 1895 and the birth of her first daughter in 1897, and it happened in a shed. She scienced in an unventilated room, unaware of the dangers of handling radioactive substances. And when I say she, I mean it. She recorded her experiments and her ideas separate from her beloved husband's. But they increasingly worked together as Pierre realized that, as smart as he was, she wore the brain pants. You know what I mean. Here are some highlights. In 1898, she showed that thorium is radioactive, around the same time as another scientist, Carl Schmidt. Also in 1898, Marie and Pierre discovered the element polonium, naming it after her oppressed homeland. Also in 1898, most famously, she isolated the radioactive element radium out of uranium ore. In fact, she developed techniques for isolating radioactive isotopes, or forms of the same element with different properties, which we now know are due to different amounts of neutrons. The Curies shared a Nobel Prize with Becquerel in 1903, basically for discovering that while most matter doesn't decay quickly, some relatively rare elements do. And Marie applied her theory. She used radioactive materials to treat cancer. Pierre had the idea of implanting small seeds of radioactive material into tumors to shrink them. And when the Great War broke out in 1914, she set up mobile radiography units, meaning X-ray systems to help field doctors treat soldiers. Thanks, Thought Bubble. Tragically, Marie died in 1934 of cancer. She literally gave her life to help others. And in 1995, way after her death, Marie Curie became the first woman to be buried in the Pantheon in Paris for her own achievements. It's basically like science Valhalla. But Marie was not the only professional woman scientist to succeed in the early 1900s. Other notables include American chemist Alice Ball, one of the first female chemistry professors and one of the first professional African-American women of science. She developed the best treatment for Hansen's disease, or leprosy, until World War II. Czech American biochemist Gertrude Curie worked out the important cycle of how glycogen, a form of sugar, breaks down in muscles into lactic acid and then is reformed as a source of energy. This became known as the Curie cycle, and she won the Nobel Prize for discovering it in 1947. Finally, the Curie's daughter, Irene Joliot-Curie, was an outstanding chemist who also won a Nobel. While Nobels aren't the only or best way to tell the story of the history of science, the fact that we could do whole episodes on 3 different members of the Curie family is just dang impressive. Next time, we're gonna follow the development of modern physics into the office of a humble patent clerk with a big secret: the key to the relationship between matter and energy. It's Einstein o'clock. Crash Course History of Science is filmed in the Dr. Cheryl C. Kinney studio in Missoula, Montana. It's made with the help of all of these awesome people, and our animation team is Thought Cafe. Crash Course is a Complexly production. If you want to keep imagining the world complexly with us, you can check out some of our other channels like Healthcare Triage, Animal Wonders, and SciShow Psych. And if you would like to keep Crash Course free for everybody forever, you can support the series at Patreon, a crowdfunding platform that allows you to support the content you love. Thank you to all of our patrons for making Crash Course possible with your continued support.
Hi everyone, welcome to our story time. So we're going to be reading a different book today. I really hope that you guys enjoyed our last story that we read about Bessie Coleman daring to fly. I thought that was really cool. I hadn't heard about that before, so I really hope you enjoyed it. Today's story is a little different. It is called, let's see, What Does It Mean to Be Kind? And this story was written by Rana Di Orio, and it was illustrated. That means the people who drew the pictures, or the person who drew the pictures, is called Stefan Jorish. Okay, so let's get started. Here are some pictures here on the first page. I don't know what this book is going to be about exactly, so I think this will be exciting for both of us, or for all of us, since we're all watching this together. It looks like a little cat that's jumping over a flower. The cat says, "What does it mean to be kind?" Does it mean being a type or a category? Is it a type or a category? No, right? Does it mean paying with something other than money? Does being kind mean that you pay with something other than money at the store? No. Does it mean being sort of something? No, I don't think so. Being kind means, what does it mean? Here it says, smiling at the new student in the class. So we all know that first week that we came to class, we didn't know anyone yet, how it can be a little scary. Being kind means that you smile at the new kid in class so that you make them feel welcome. Being kind is giving someone a compliment. What's a compliment? So a compliment can be, "Oh, your hair looks nice today. I like your glasses. I like your haircut," or "I like your shirt." Is a compliment saying, I don't like the way you look today"? Is that a compliment? No, that's kind of negative. You don't want to say that to someone. That's not very nice. So if we're being kind, it's giving someone a compliment. What about, "I love the way you drew that cat. It's a pretty cool looking cat." Or being kind is holding the door open for someone. So whenever we line up to go to a different class, you know how we have our door holders and we open up the door for our friends in wheelchairs? So that's being very kind, opening up the door for someone, or opening up the door for someone who's carrying a lot of things, or they're bringing the drink cart so they can't open the door. If you open the door for them, that's a really kind act. So being kind is also holding the door open for someone else. Being kind is sticking up for someone who is being bullied. So we don't like bullying, and we make sure that that never happens. But if you ever see a friend being bullied, being kind is sticking up for them and saying, "Hey, I don't like that. You don't talk to my friend like that." Or coming to tell a staff member. I know some of you guys have goals on what is being aggressive or passive aggressive, or how to be forward without being mean. So you can tell someone, "Hey, don't talk to my friend like that," without having to be mean, okay? It's very different. Another way of being kind is seeing the best in people, even when they are struggling to be their best. So I like this idea a lot, because sometimes we try our hardest to be good at something or to do better, and even when we try, we still don't get it right. Being kind is when your friends or your classmates, they know you're trying, and they give you the benefit of the doubt. They see the best in you, even though maybe you didn't do everything exactly the way that you wanted. Okay, so we give people chances, and and we see the best in them, even though they're having a hard time. being kind is forgiving someone who has hurt you. Okay? So, we need to treat people how we would like to be treated ourselves. And sometimes we hurt our friends' feelings, or we do something that makes them mad. And it's really important for us to learn how to forgive each other and move on so we can keep being friends. Or another way is helping an injured or lost animal. So maybe we find a little an animal, or your friend's animal or dog got hurt, helping them, or helping them walk their dog one day in the backyard. Obviously, making sure that that's okay. But yeah, so you can help an animal that's hurt or lost. Let's see what else. Being patient when you're in a hurry. So when we're all waiting to get our lunch in line, a really important thing would be for us to be patient. Don't skip anyone. We're all going to get our lunch in a little bit. So that's a really good way of being kind. Just be patient and wait your turn. Everyone is just as hungry as you are. Trust me. You can also say please and thank you, you're welcome, and I'm sorry. So when Olga gives you the lunch, you can say thank you, or you can say please, can I have my lunch? When somebody heats up your lunch, you can say thank you. Or if you cut in front of the line, you say I'm sorry, and you can go back to your place. Being kind is celebrating differences in others. So wow, we love to celebrate all of our differences because that's what makes us exciting and different and cool. It makes us who we are. It makes us very unique. So we celebrate all the differences that we have. It also is encouraging someone who needs support. So sometimes our friends need help, and being kind means that we help them out. We support them. Being kind is picking up trash that isn't yours. So whenever Action Club, or all of us can do this really, pick up trash in the pavilion, that is so sweet. Because even though you didn't make the mess, maybe it wasn't you who dropped the fork or the spoon on the floor, we're helping the earth stay clean, and we're helping the Wow Center stay clean, which is our home. And also allowing yourself to learn from your mistakes. So when we do make mistakes, we can either get upset at ourselves and get angry, or we can take that as an opportunity to learn something. And that way next time, we'll be better. It's noticing when someone is sad and taking the time to understand why. So sometimes we're very sad. It's important, or our friend is sad, it's important that we sit with them and try to see what's wrong so we can maybe help them, or just talk to them and give them a hug. Also, it means caring for those less fortunate than you are. So there are people in this world that are less fortunate. Maybe they don't have food, or they don't have a place to live. And so we can be kind by when we do donations, and we can give them money so they can buy food. Kind of like the little girl that we collect money for once a month. That's being kind, we're finding ways for her to get money so that her family can buy food for her. Or if we're doing donations of like canned food, those are or Christmas toys, those are all ways that we can help people who are less fortunate. It also means being kind. Being kind means having the courage to treat others the way you like to be treated. So sometimes it's not very easy to be nice. Sometimes you're scared that your friends will make fun of you for being nice. That's why being kind and being nice takes courage. You need to be brave. And that's what makes it so awesome. So show your friends what it means to be kind and spread the word. if we can all be kind to each other and to ourselves, our world will be more loving, caring, and harmonious. So sometimes it's hard to be kind, right? But if we did that, if we were all nicer to each other, can you imagine how great everything would be? What a great place it would be to live in? How awesome every day would feel like if we were all nice to each other and we weren't angry or making fun of each other. So it's really important that, and you got to spread the word, that being nice to each other is going to make the world a much better place. Okay. Oops. So here's some information about the author. And now we have some pictures of dogs. So what did you guys learn about this story? Oh, here, there's one more thing. It says, this book was written for my brother and hero, Damon, who is the kindest person I know and who inspires me to be my best self. To my mom and dad for all of their support, interest, and kindness. So do you guys know someone who is the nicest person and just inspires you to be better? You guys have a friend like that? Or your mom or your dad or your guardian? Are they so nice that it just inspires you to be a better person? And so maybe we can think about that person and maybe we should thank them. Thank them for teaching us how to be nice to other people. And think about ways that this week at home that we can be nicer to other people. Some ways like saying thank you when we get our lunch, excuse me, when we're trying to use the bathroom and someone's there and we knock and say, excuse me, is someone there? Instead of barging open or yelling at them. There's lots of ways that we can learn to be nicer. Now that we're living at home because we're doing social distancing, we're all kind of stuck at home for a long time. It's important to maintain a happy and nice environment with the people you live with because you're spending a lot more time with them. And so, what are some ways that we can be kinder to the people who live with us? Our siblings, our parents, our companion, support anyone else, other people in the group home, anyone else who also lives with us. How can we reach out to them and be nicer to them this week? So I want you guys to take a second to think about that. How can we be nicer to the people that we live with while we're all stuck at home this week? So just take a second now to think about that. Okay, so I think something we can do this week, we can pick up trash that maybe we didn't leave. We can learn from our mistakes, and we can admit when we're wrong and say sorry. So maybe you did leave your plate at the table and you didn't clean up, and your mom or someone comes and tells you like, hey, you should have cleaned that up. Please clean that up. Instead of being angry and yelling, I don't want to clean that up, it's not mine, or whatever you say, maybe you could say, oh, you're right. I'm sorry, I forgot to clean that up. Okay? So those are just some things. I think this book was really helpful because it's really easy to get frustrated when you're living with someone so close all day, every day, you're not leaving the house. And it's important for us to take care of each other. These weeks with the coronavirus, we need to be supportive and be there for each other and respect our space. And yeah, so I hope that this book was helpful, and thank you for reading with me. Bye guys, see you later.
Guys, Carol here with another virtual art lesson. Before we get started, we're going to go on and do our quick stretch for the day to get our creative juices flowing. You're going to stretch to your left Stretch to your right. Stretch up and down. Up and down. One more big one. Up and down. Give yourself a big hug, squeeze. Take a deep breath in and relax. Alright, so we're going on to lesson number 3, the elements of art. Enjoy. Lesson 3, elements of art. The objectives for this lesson are to learn about the elements of art, to identify lines, identify shapes, identify colors, identify texture, identify form, identify value, identify space, and to create artwork incorporating all of the elements of art. So what exactly are the elements of art? The elements of art are visual elements that are the building blocks of art pieces. The visual elements have a relationship to one another. Each of the elements may be also used individually to stress their own particular character in artwork. So if you look at the screen, you're going to see a diagram, and on the diagram you're going to see lines, you're going to see shapes, you're going to see colors, form, value, texture, and space. So over the next few slides, we're going to go more in depth into each of the elements. Before we begin going into each one individually, I'm going to go ahead and name them one more time. So the 7 elements of art, again, are line, shape, form, color, value, texture, and space. We're going to go ahead and watch this video.
The 7 elements of art are the basic pieces or properties of a work of art. The elements are line, color, shape, form, value, texture, and space. Line is the most basic element of art. Line is the path of a point moving across a surface. Lines in art express different meaning. Some artists show their lines more than others, and some artists use nothing but lines to express shapes, textures, value, space, and forms. Color is what we see because of reflected light. Light contains different wavelengths of energy that our eyes and brain see as different colors. Colors have 3 properties: hue, value, and intensity. Hue refers to the color name, red, blue, green, etc. Value refers to the lightness or darkness of the hue, dark green versus light green. Intensity refers to the purity of the color. Red is more intense than orange, and orange is more intense than yellow-orange, for example. A shape has 2 dimensions represented as an enclosed area. There are 2 types of shape. Geometric shapes are precise and regular, like squares, rectangles, and triangles. Organic shapes are irregular and typically come from nature, such as leaves, flowers, and clouds, shapes that grow, flow, and move. Form has 3 dimensions, represented as enclosed of volume. Forms are shapes in 3 dimensions, such as a cube, sphere, pyramid, and cylinder. Organic shapes can also represent form. Sculpture is the most obvious place to see form or 3-dimensional shape in art. Value refers to relative lightness and darkness of a base color and includes light, medium, and dark areas. Value is perceived in terms of varying level of contrast. Highlights, midtones, shadows, and cast shadows may all show up as different intensities of the same color. Texture refers to the tactile qualities of a surface, actual, or the visual representation of such surface qualities, implied. There are 3 basic types of texture: actual, simulated, and invented. An actual texture comes from real materials that are part of the artwork. Simulated texture is the illusion of a real texture, such as painted fabric. Invented textures are created by the artist from imagination. Space is the creation of visual perspective. Perspective visually represents a volume of space or a three-dimensional object on a flat surface. Space is the illusion of depth, the distance around, between, above, below, and within an object or group of objects. This is Gypsy Sleeping by Henry Rousseau, painted in 1897. This oil painting contains visual representations of all 7 elements of art. Rousseau uses a great deal of line in this work. The lines in the cloth, delicate strings of the instrument, and the woman's hair are examples. Her colorful garment contains a rainbow of spectrum of hues. Rousseau creates a great deal of interest with this range of values and intensities. The smooth circle-shaped moon is in stark contrast within the rectangular expanse that it occupies, appearing like a hole punched out of the sky. The forms in the painting have a flatness to their dimension. The feet here almost appear to sink a little into the sand. Rousseau's use of this flattened form gives the painting a dreamlike quality. Here we can see a wonderful use of value to give some illusion of space or perspective. The values of blue in the water or the browns in the sand, for example, gradually change from dark to medium to light. The lion's hairy mane is expressed with texture through flowing lines. This is an example of an invented texture because it is a stylistic depiction of an actual hairy texture. One can see the expression of space in the entire image. Rousseau's flattened, layered shapes create a foreshortened space, a lack of depth, of little space between objects. Only the stars and mountains appear distant, while the eye is drawn closer and closer to the lion's face and the gypsy. Rousseau's repetitive use of parallel lines, shapes, circles in this case, and smooth value transitions work together with the stylized, textured, and flattened dimensions to create the entrancing quality of Gypsy Sleeping.
In the next few slides, we're going to explore each element in detail. We will define the element, watch a short clip, and take a few minutes to practice each element on our own. A line is an element of art defined by a point moving in space. Lines may be 2- or 3-dimensional, descriptive, implied, or abstract.
Each of these pictures is a self-portrait by a well-known artist. Although they are portraying very similar things, one main idea that differentiates them is how the artists have used line in their work. Line is one of the 7 elements of art, along with shape, color, texture, form, value, and space. These 7 elements are the building blocks of all art, and are a great place to start when analyzing or interpreting works of art. Line is the path created when an object moves from one point to another. In the visual arts, lines are made when you draw or paint marks on a paper or canvas, or when materials such as wood, glass, and metal are bent or shaped. Lines are also made by photographers and filmmakers when they choose how to angle their cameras and how to compose their shots. Lines can be horizontal, vertical, or diagonal, straight, curved, or free form. They can be thick or thin, light or dark. Sometimes one line can be all of those things. Lines can be described in many ways: dashed, dotted, rough, smooth, zigzag, implied. What qualities do you see in these lines? How would you describe them? Every artist has a unique way of making lines. It's one way of expressing their individual style. This is a self-portrait by Jean-Michel Basquiat. His lines might be described as bold, jagged, almost messy at times. What do these lines make you think of? Why might he have chosen to represent himself in this way? Compare that to the faint, seemingly unfinished quality of this self-portrait by David Hockney. What do his lines suggest to you? Do they make you think or feel differently than the Basquiat self-portrait? If you were drawing a self-portrait, what kinds of lines would you choose to represent yourself? What kinds of lines would communicate the messages you want viewers to think about? The next time you are looking at a sculpture, painting, or drawing, try to notice what kinds of lines are used and interpret what they mean to you.
Here are some examples of lines. So you can see some broken lines, some curly and wavy ones, some vertical, some straight, some diagonal, lots of different lines. Now it's your turn. Take a few minutes to work on drawing some lines. Shape is an element of art that is two-dimensional, flat, or limited to height and width.
Fruit has played a prominent role in the history of art. It's long been a favorite subject for artists making still life paintings and drawings. Looking at still lifes of fruit is a useful way of studying how artists approach making shapes. Shape is one of the 7 elements of art, along with line, form, texture, value, space, and color. When the beginning of a line connects with its own end or intersects with another, a shape is formed. In visual art, shapes are flat and are defined by their length and width. In other words, they're two-dimensional. There is an infinite number of shapes, but all fall into one of 2 categories: geometric or organic. Geometric shapes are commonly recognized such as squares, hexagons, rectangles, and circles. Organic shapes are free-form and often one of a kind. Artists learn how to see the world around them as basic shapes. Simplifying objects into geometric and organic shapes makes drawing them easier. Shapes inherit the qualities of the lines that were used to construct them. For instance, this painting by Cezanne has heavy, solid outlines that define the shapes, whereas the fruit in this ink drawing by Manola Rocchi is made up of very soft, fuzzy lines. Each approach to making lines produces different feelings and associations in the viewers. Some artists make oranges that are perfectly round, while others draw or paint every little bump and detail of the skin. The next time you're looking at a painting or drawing, try to notice how the artist is using shape in their work. If you were making a drawing or painting, how would you interpret the objects in front of you? Would you draw them as faithfully as possible? Or would you choose to represent them more abstractly? Practice for yourself by setting up a bowl of fruit and drawing what you see.
Now we're going to talk about shapes, and here's an example of shapes and forms together. However, we're going to go first into shapes, and then the next slide will go on to forms. So shapes are geometric, and they're usually flat or two-dimensional. So you're going to see on this slide, you're going to see some circles, some triangles, some squares, rectangles. Okay, now it's your turn. You're going to take the next few minutes and you're going to work on drawing some shapes. Remember, like in the last slide we just talked about, shapes are flat and two-dimensional, and you can draw some squares, some circles, some triangles, whichever shape you prefer to practice. Form is an element of art that is three-dimensional and encloses volume. It includes height, width, and depth, as in a cube, a sphere, a pyramid, or a cylinder. Form may also be free-flowing.
These paintings are all examples of the genre of art called trompe l'oeil. Translated from French, trompe l'oeil literally means fools the eye. It's a style of art that makes you question if what you're seeing is real. It's this illusion of depth that artists create, which tricks our eyes. When shapes get this third dimension of depth, they become forms. Form is one of the 7 elements of art, along with line, shape, texture, value, space, and color. When given form, circles become spheres, squares become cubes, triangles become cones or pyramids. Form takes up space in either a real or implied way. In paintings and drawings, for instance, form is implied because it's an illusion of 3 dimensions. With sculpture, on the other hand, form is real because it takes up 3-dimensional space. Visual artists use light and shadow effects to create the illusion of 3-dimensional form. A strong sense of form can also be created by increasing contrast between highlights and shadow areas. Street artist Banksy uses this technique a lot. Notice how these human forms are made up of only white, black, and 1 shade of gray. Sometimes form can even be created by an artist's use of color. Artist Akash Nihalani often juxtaposes brightly colored forms against neutral backgrounds to create the illusion of depth. Notice his forms don't incorporate any shading at all. These are just a few ways artists create forms and incorporate depth into their work. What are some other ways that artists create form? Is there a particular style or technique that draws you in and catches your eye? Mastering many different approaches to making form will give you unlimited options when creating your own artwork, and will enable you to fool viewers' eyes in any way you choose.
Okay, we're going to continue on this slide talking about form. So form can be organic, free form, or natural. Form can also be 3-dimensional, so like your spheres, your pyramids, your cubes. Okay, now it's your turn. You're going to take the next few minutes to work on form. Again, remember that form is 3-dimensional, so you can work on cubes, cones, spheres, pyramids. Color is an element of art made up of 3 properties: the hue, the name of a color; the value, the hue's lightness and darkness. Remember, a color's value changes when white or black is added; and intensity, which is the quality of brightness and purity. High intensity means a color is strong and bright, and low intensity means a color is faint and dull.
A lot of representational art attempts to portray the world realistically by mimicking 3-dimensional space and attempting to faithfully render objects as we see them. However, many artists embrace a different reality. So-called color field painters of the 1950s and 60s wanted to reinforce the idea that the painted canvas is a flat, 2-dimensional space. They made enormous, large-scale paintings that were often comprised of just 1 or 2 colors. Their art didn't represent the outside world or try to take you to another place. It reinforced the fact that you're looking at a painting. The bold, bright colors they used weren't meant to represent anything else. For them and the many artists they inspired, color is a beautiful and worthy subject all its own. Color is one of the 7 elements of art, along with line, shape, form, texture, value, and space. When light hits an object, some of it is absorbed and some of it is reflected, depending on the materials the object is made of. The light that is reflected off of the object is what we see as an object's color. Red, yellow, and blue are called primary colors because they cannot be made from the mixing of other colors. However, the three primary colors can be mixed together to produce nearly every other hue imaginable. Green, orange, and violet are the three secondary colors. They are created by mixing two of the primary colors together in equal amounts. When you mix a primary color with a secondary color, you get a tertiary color, such as red-orange, blue-green. Every individual color can be altered by changing its value through tinting, shading, and toning. Tint is simply any color with white added to it. So red becomes pink, blue becomes light blue, green becomes light green, and so on. A shade, then, is created by adding black to any color. Adding black and white to a color produces a tone. Sometimes a work of art will be made up of the tints, shades, and tones of only one color. This is what we call a monochromatic color scheme. One way artists personalize their work is by creating their own very unique colors, tints, shades, and tones. Notice how the violet colors in this print by Anish Kapoor differ from the ones used by painter Morris Louis. Is there one that has more tinting or shading than another? What do you think is creating the difference? One common way people categorize colors is by temperature. Reds, oranges, and yellows are referred to as warm because they can be easily associated with a warm, sunny day. Blues, violets, and greens, on the other hand, are called cool because they often come to mind when thinking about overcast or rainy days. When cool and warm colors are mixed together in a painting, what is the overall mood or feeling then? Besides the weather, there are many other associations and feelings that colors can summon. Is there a color or combination of colors that triggers a specific memory or thought in you? Understanding the effects colors have on you will help you read an artwork and develop your own interpretation of it. And when making your own artwork, knowing the effect colors have will help you control the messages you hope to convey.
Okay, here's an example of color, and it's going to take us back to lesson 1. If you remember, we talked about the color wheel, primary colors, secondary colors. So here is your example of color as an element of art. You guessed it, now it's your turn. Take the next few minutes to work on using colors. Remember, you can mix colors or add black or white to lighten or darken your colors. You can use as many colors as you like or as little as you like. Have fun! Value is the lightness or darkness of tones or colors. White is the lightest value and black is the darkest. The value halfway between these extremes is called middle gray.
The word photograph comes from two Greek words that translate to light drawing. Some people describe photography then as drawing with light. Light defines objects and literally enables us to see things. Artists create the illusion of light by being able to produce a wide range of tonal and color values. Value is one of the 7 elements of art, along with line, shape, form, texture, color, and space. Value is how light or dark a given color or hue is. Values can be better understood when they are visualized as a scale or a gradient. Here's the value scale for this gray tone. It ranges from pure white to absolute black, with a number of gray tones in between. Any hue or tone has a similar scale from dark to light. Different values are created by lightening the hue, in this case adding white to it, or by darkening it with black. When an artwork has many tones in between black and white, it is considered low contrast. For instance, in this photograph by Nicholas Nixon, notice how many different shades of gray there are. A high contrast image, on the other hand, would have very few tonal values between black and white, like this photograph by Kenneth Josephson. The texture of an object's surface can play a role in how we see value. In this photograph by Brett Weston, notice how the veins in the leaves of lettuce create areas of dramatic contrast between light and dark. Compare that with this photograph of bananas, also by Weston. The skin of the bananas dulls the light, which gives the photograph much less contrast. The different ways artists create lines and implied textures can also affect how we perceive value. Notice how heavy and dark the blacks are in this charcoal drawing. Also notice how certain areas smoothly transition from dark to light. This watercolor painting's blacks aren't nearly as dark. Notice too how the shading isn't as smoothly blended. The next time you are looking at a photograph, painting, or drawing, try to notice how the artist is rendering value. And when you're creating your own artwork, practice creating value scales with a variety of different mediums and hues, so your artwork shines in its own unique way.
Here's an example of value. So value is going to be the range of a color from light to dark. Now it's your turn. You're going to take the next few minutes to work on using value. Remember, you can add more pressure or take off pressure from your color pencil, or crayon to make your image lighter or darker. Texture is an element of art that refers to the way things feel or look as if they might feel if they were touched.
We tend to think of art as something just to look at, but a lot of artists make their work to stimulate our other senses. Sculptors, textile and fabric artists, bookmakers, ceramicists, and artists working in many other forms think a lot about how to engage viewers' sense of touch. Even when their art is not meant to be touched, artists put a lot of thought and work into creating many different textures. Texture is one of the 7 elements of art, along with line, shape, color, form, value, and space. Texture is the look or feel of a surface. Just like form, texture can be real or implied. If you were to run your hand across this sculpture by Alberto Giacometti, you would feel the hardness of the bronze metal and the roughness of the form that Giacometti created. This is called actual texture. Implied textures are only visual, they can't be felt. For instance, if you could touch the canvas of this self-portrait by Chuck Close, you wouldn't feel the varied textures of skin and hair. You would feel the smoothness of the oil paint. So these textures are implied because we can only see them. There are countless ways that artists create implied textures. How many different kinds of lines do you notice in this painting by Roy DeForest? You have the zigzag lines creating a woman's hair on the left, cross-hatching creating her skin, the blurred, smudged colors coming out of the dog's mouth and the man's mouth in the center. Those are just to name a few kinds of implied textures here. Textures can also be created through use of shapes. In this painting by Gustav Klimt, notice how he repeats shapes to create textures. You have the triangles and lines on the woman's dress on the left, the many spirals creating the tree in the center, and in the woman's dress on the right you have circles within circles, rectangles within squares, and all the scattered shapes throughout the piece create many different textures. Paintings and other typically two-dimensional art can have actual texture. Sometimes artists layer paint on the canvas so thick that it becomes three-dimensional. At that point, the paint is a sculptural element that can be manipulated and shaped. Some artists build up fabrics, textiles, jewelry, and many other objects on the canvas to create additional textures. Artists often feature the natural textures of the materials they use, or textures uniquely created and formed by hand. Whatever the approach, textures are an expressive tool artists use to reinforce their overall messages. The next time you're making a painting, drawing, collage, or sculpture, find a way to incorporate textures that say something relevant and important to you.
Here's an example of texture. So texture is going to help us create the illusion of how something might look or feel. So if you look at something with jagged edges, it might be giving you the illusion that it's sharp or jagged, uneven. Now it's your turn. Take the next few minutes to work on using texture. Remember, you can always add texture to give images the illusion of how something may look or feel. For example, you can draw jagged lines to give the illusion that something is sharp or uneven. Space refers to an element of art by which positive and negative areas are defined or a sense of depth is achieved in a work of art.
Space is always part of an artwork, sometimes in multiple ways. No art form demonstrates this more than site-specific work. Site-specific art is designed exclusively for one particular space. For this type of art, it's impossible to isolate the work from its surrounding environment. So for many artists then, space and how to transform it is the artwork. Space is one of the 7 elements of art, along with line, shape, form, texture, value, and color. Space is the area in which an artwork is organized. It encompasses the area within a work of art and can also include the area immediately outside of and around a work of art. In paintings, drawings, and other two-dimensional work, the space of an artwork is usually contained within the borders of the paper or canvas it's made on. The main objects in a work of art take up positive space. The area around them then is called negative space. Sometimes artists intentionally try to blur the boundaries between positive and negative space. In sculpture and other three-dimensional arts, positive space is the area the objects actually occupy, and negative space is all the other areas between and around the objects. Many two-dimensional works create the illusion of three-dimensional space by using some very specific techniques. Notice how painter Kehinde Wiley overlaps some of the background pattern onto the front of people in these portraits. This overlapping gives a sense of three-dimensional space. Landscape painter Wang Hui placed objects in different parts of the canvas to imply three-dimensional space. Notice how figures towards the top of the paintings seem to be moving further back in space, even though they are roughly the same size. Some artists do use relative size to give their work the illusion of real space. The smaller human figures in these paintings by Ben Shahn seem to be more distant and further away from the larger ones. Roy de Carava often contrasted sharply focused figures with blurry, soft backgrounds in his photographs. Such a contrast in detail gives the sense of lush, real depth. Varying hues and values will also give two-dimensional works the illusion of real space. See how painter Georgia O'Keeffe uses a variety of red values and imbues her work with a feeling of true depth? Painter Alex Roulette uses classic single and two-point perspective in his work to create the impression of deep, expansive space. Notice too how objects get smaller in order to seem more distant from each other. Some other ways to describe how artists use space are dense, open, cluttered, symmetrical, shallow, flat. How would you describe the way artists approach space in these works? What qualities do you see? How artists use space is one way they are able to create a unique style and reinforce the messages they hope to communicate. The next time you're looking at a painting, photograph, or sculpture, try to notice how the artist is using space in their work. And when you're making your own artwork, try to develop an approach to space that resonates with other ideas you're trying to communicate. That way, your messages will surely travel far and wide.
Here's an example of space. So it shows us how shapes are arranged in artwork to create a sense of space. So think about how things can be arranged on your artwork to make them seem near or far from you. Now it's your turn. Take the next few minutes to work on using space. Remember, you can draw images bigger or smaller or at an angle to give the impression that the image is near or far. Now that we're familiar with the elements of art, let's use our imagination, creativity, and knowledge to create beautiful artwork incorporating all of the elements of art. Take the next 30 minutes to select and complete an activity of your choice. Option 1 of your activities is an Elements of Art worksheet. So you can apply your knowledge and practice using the different elements of art by using one of the sheets provided on your resources slide. The materials for this activity are the Elements of Art worksheets and crayons, markers, color pencils, or paint, whatever you have on hand at home. Your second activity is to incorporate the elements of art in any art piece that you'd like. So you can create an art piece by applying your knowledge and using your creativity to incorporate as many of the elements as you please. Okay, your materials for this activity are going to be paper, pencil, crayons, markers, color pencils, or paint, whatever you have on hand or whatever medium you prefer. Okay, your third and final option is to watch suggested video. So the video.
Hi guys, welcome back. I'm going to be going over your special topics as well as your schedule for tomorrow. Special topics, we're on week 1. And the first special topic is, do I participate in my support IPP meetings? I hope so. I hope that you are making your voice heard. I hope that you are taking advantage of the fact that at these meetings, frequently, all the people who offer you services are gathered, including representatives from the WOW Center, any other services that you might receive would be present there. So it's a good opportunity for you to use your big voice and speak up about what it is that you want for yourself. Do I choose my services? Yes, yes you do, or you can. Again, you need to use your big voice and let those of us who are there present to help you achieve your personal goals. Let us know what it is that you want to achieve. What do you want to do? Because a lot of times we'll be in a position where we can help you achieve your goals. Am I happy with all my services? That's a question you need to ask yourself when we are at those meetings. If there is any service that you're receiving that you're not happy, that's definitely the time to bring it up. Suppose that you've been working for 20, 25 years and you want to sort of retire, you no longer want to work. That's a place where you might want to share that information so that we can make the appropriate adjustments. Or suppose that you want to start working and you haven't done so for a while, or you took a break from work. Again, that's the place to bring that up, because all the people gathered there are there for one person. They're there for you. Do I choose my goal? Yes. You choose your goal. Your assigned instructor for your group will help you choose your goal. And we go through all the different objectives in order to ensure that you're working on the appropriate goal, and that is a goal that you can get something out of, but also that is a goal that is tailored for you and for the needs that you have and the things that you want to learn. So by now you've had several goals, probably at least one, that you've been working on. And some part of what we do on our end is we monitor how successful you're being at your goal. Is this something that's appropriate for you? Did we think at one point that it was appropriate for you, but maybe it's proving either too easy or too difficult? So these are all things that you need to ask yourself, so that when we examine that, or you examine it, you can come to us and say, look, I'm not really happy with my goal, or I don't feel that I'm getting the most out of it. Again, all of this comes down to using your big voice, right? Do I make choices on the activities at the WOW Center? The WOW Center is driven by your choices. It's something that we pride ourselves in. So we work very hard to make sure that we are doing what you want to be working on. And that's why once a month, each of your classes, including the CBE program, offer you the ability to make your choices for what you want to be working on the following month. I know that in CBE, we give you that sheet of paper that has all of the options. We also take into consideration what you've been saying about where you want to go in the community. I know that when Stephanie's putting that sheet together, she's been listening to you when we've made our WOW card choices. And she uses that information in order to make the appropriate choices to put on that sheet. Likewise, I've been present in, for instance, life and work skills, Barbara's and Jira's class, when you are choosing what you're going to do for the following month. And then we make that big list on the whiteboard of what it is that you want to work on. Like, do you want to make snacks? Do you want to learn how to make various healthy snacks? Or do you want to work on laundry? Or do you want to work on money skills? These are all things that are going to be important later, for instance, when we go out into the community, because you're going to be working in the community on that same thing that you worked on in life and work skills. So you see all of the other classes that you take, all of our classes, they all come together whenever you are on your own, or when you go shopping, say, with your family. You can encourage them, for instance, to make a grocery list, to work on a budget. So you can continue to grow and you can continue to practice what we're working on. So absolutely you make choices. The whole WOW Center is driven around, believe it or not, your choices. Am I happy with my service providers? Again, if there is ever anything that you're unhappy with, you should definitely reach out to a member of our staff to let us know. However, when we get together for those IPP meetings, that's a really good time because everybody's sitting around the same table for you to express what you're happy with. So we know, okay, then let's dig a little bit more into that particular thing this person is happy with, or also what you are not happy with. And your support coordinator is really the person that brings all of those services together, all of those supports together. So the support coordinator is someone that you should have a good relationship with, that you establish a good relationship with, someone that you can talk to, someone that you can share what you want with, and someone that you can share what you want to accomplish down the line with, so that they can set up those supports and make sure that you're getting the best chance possible of achieving those goals. So your support coordinator really should be like your first line of defense in achieving the things that you want to achieve and in receiving the supports that you want to receive. Do I know and understand that I can make changes if I'm unhappy with my services, service providers, and support coordinator? I hope that you do understand that those changes are 100% up to you. But again, you have to use your big voice. If we don't know that there's a problem, then we cannot try to fix the problem. So anything that you're unhappy with, you should tell a staff member, a member of staff. You can tell your social services staff, Reggie or Marta or Lisa or Lourdes even, and let us know. Let us know what's going on in your brain, because we're not mind readers, right? We don't know. Do I know the number if I am dissatisfied with my services? So the phone number for the agency consumer complaint is 1-888-419-3456. If you're unhappy with anything, that would be the agency that would help you. That would be the number to call. Am I respected? That's a big question. We at WOW work very hard to show you that we respect you as human beings, that we honor you as human beings and as peers. So we work very hard to maintain that level of respect. The second question you could ask yourself is, am I respectful of others? And I hope that your answer is always yes. My daily life and work. Can I choose my day activities? Every day we make lots of little choices that maybe seem unimportant, but they make up a day full of activities. We are all responsible for making those choices from the moment that we wake up. So, of course, you can choose your day activities. A lot of us have supports around us, family systems, as well as the WOW Center that help us make those choices and guide us in making those choices. So take advantage of those. Ask for advice. I was thinking of doing so-and-so. Do you think that's a good idea for me? Families are especially helpful in this respect, as well as group home staff. Am I happy at the WOW Center? I sincerely hope that your answer is yes, because we at the WOW Center work very hard to ensure that you're happy. But again, that's a question that you should ask yourself. And if for whatever reason your answer is no, not just am I unhappy at the WOW Center, but in general, then again, communicate that. Use your voice to speak up and let us know what makes you happy, what's making you unhappy. And we can guide and we can help you. Do I want to do the activities that I do during the day? Again, a good question. From time to time, there's going to be things that we all have to do that we don't want to do. You know, maybe you don't want to be washing your hands all the time, right? But these are things that are healthy habits. So cultivate your healthy habits. It might not be the most exciting thing that you're doing at the moment. Maybe in life and work, well, I keep saying life and work, but okay, maybe in sports. Coach Mo has planned to go to the park, but you'd rather be playing basketball. If you know, life is a balance. It's about balancing those things that we want to do, and it's about taking into account the why. Why do we need to do some things that we don't want to do? It's just life. I hope that you want to do all of the activities that we always have planned for you at the WOW Center, but even outside of the WOW Center, you know, I don't always want to go to sleep on time, guys. Sometimes I want to stay up and watch a movie, but then I ask myself, wait a minute, tomorrow, am I going to pay the price for not doing this thing that I know I should be doing right now and choosing to do something else? So these are all very good questions to ask yourself. Do I want a job in the community? There are many opportunities for individuals to have jobs out in the community. I know that supported employment works very hard to find just the right job for you guys. So if you do want a job in the community, you can reach out to one of your supported employment staff, like Mel, Melissa, or Julie, or Renee even. If you see them out on campus and you think you want a job in the community, that's a good time to kind of pull them aside and say, hey, guess what? I think I'm ready for a job in the community. And then they can help you the best way that they can. Can I choose to work? There are many different ways that you can choose to work. We also offer internship opportunities. So an internship opportunity is also a good learning opportunity. So if you choose to work, which of course you can, if you choose to work, that might be something that you want to explore. You might want to explore an internship to kind of start off and see if that's a job that you would like. For instance, our partners at Petland have offered internship opportunities, which then can turn into an employment opportunity if you so choose. Am I happy with my job? I hope you are. I hope that you enjoy whatever you're working on and wherever you're working. Do I choose where I want to live? Yes, that is a choice that you can make. It is also a choice that you should discuss with other family members, with support staff, and I am sure that between your family and support staff or anybody who's offering you any of those supports, you can find a place where you are happy and comfortable. Am I happy where I live? I hope so. I hope that you're happy where you live. Of course, in life, there's always going to be times that we struggle a little bit, but everyone around you is there to support you and to ensure that you are the happiest that you can be. Am I happy at home? A good question to ask yourself. If the answer is yes, that's wonderful. If the answer is no, then you can ask yourself, what can I do to make myself happier? Perhaps you want to pick up some more supports. Perhaps you want the ability to go out into the community more and share with your peers. There's always something, some place that we can improve. Am I happy with the services and supports that I receive at home? As I said, the time to mention those things are in those meetings that we have with social service staff and with all of your support coordinator. These are all questions that we're putting out there so that you know to ask yourself these questions so that when we have those meetings, you're prepared to answer them. All right, tomorrow, we're going to start our day with Brain Smart Start and recreational therapy. Then you're going to move on to music therapy, and then we're going to have a break. Following the break, you're going to be having your sports class with Coach Mo, and then you're going to be having a story time with CBE. And I can't wait to hear that story that Melissa's going to be putting out for you guys. Following story time, you're going to have your lunch. After lunch, you will have life and work skills. and you will have rights and review the schedule for the next day. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope that when we call you for tracking your goal and your attendance today, tomorrow, and the rest of the week, that you are available and that we get to speak with you. Have a good day. Bye.